This is Pete Hegseth, current US Secretary of Defense. He has a tattoo that says Deus Vult, Latin for God wills it. That was the war cry of the First Crusade. A viral video with nearly 5 million views argues the Crusades were defensive, justified and, quote, awesome.
In this video, you'll be finding out why the Crusades were not only morally justified, but were actually a historic achievement.
This narrative is being used right now. Both Christian nationalists and Islamist extremists use distorted Crusades history to justify modern conflicts. The video makes 5 major claims. Every one of them leaves out critical evidence. I went to the primary sources, what the Crusaders themselves wrote about what they did. And it's not what this video tells you. This is Fulcher of Chartres. He was a Christian chaplain who participated in the First Crusade. Here's what he wrote about the capture of Jerusalem in 1099. About 10,000 were beheaded. Not one of them was allowed to live. They did not spare women and children. That's from a Christian source, not Muslim propaganda. A crusader's own account. Now, before I go further, let me be very clear. The video I'm fact-checking gets some things right. The Byzantine and Sassanid empires did fight a devastating 25-year war that left them vulnerable to Arab conquest. The Battle of Massacre in 1071 was a major defeat for Byzantium. Emperor Alexius did appeal to the Pope for military help. And yes, Islamic expansion in the 7th and 8th centuries was conquest. These are facts. The problem isn't the facts the video presents, it's the facts it leaves out.
The First Crusade could really only be qualified as a roaring success.
Remember, the video calls the First Crusade a roaring success. Militarily, sure, the Crusaders won their battles and captured Jerusalem. But here's what the video doesn't mention about that success. On July 15, 1099, Crusader forces breached the walls of Jerusalem. What happened next is documented in multiple Christian sources. In the Temple and Porch of Solomon, men rode in blood up to their knees and bridle reins. That's Raymond d'Aguilera, another eyewitness. He continues, "Indeed, it was a just and splendid judgment of God that this place should be filled with the blood of the unbelievers." The anonymous author of the Gesta Francorum, another Crusader chronicle, wrote that the slaughter was so great that our men waded in blood up to their ankles. Modern historians estimate around 3,000 people were killed. Some medieval sources claimed tens of thousands. Either way, this was a massacre. And it wasn't just Muslims. The Muslim chronicler Ibn al-Qalanasi recorded that the Jews had gathered in their synagogue and the Franks burned it over their heads. All this isn't in the Awesome Crusades video. The video calls the Crusades a defensive war against Muslim expansion. So let me tell you what the Fourth Crusade actually did.
Some Crusades were huge successes, like the Reconquista, while others were dismal failures like the Fourth Crusade. But even the failures are understandable in context.
The Fourth Crusade was supposed to liberate Jerusalem by attacking Egypt. Instead, the Crusaders went massively into debt to Venice. 34,000 silver marks they couldn't pay. So in 1204, they attacked Constantinople. Not a Muslim city, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, the greatest Christian power in the East. They sacked a Christian city, they looted Christian churches, and they killed Orthodox Christians. The Byzantine senator Nicetas Choniates was there. He called the Crusaders, and I quote again, forerunners of Antichrist, agents of his anticipated ungodly deeds. They broke into the Hagia Sophia, smashed the altar, and brought in mules to haul away gold. The prostitute sat in the patriarch's seat, singing obscene songs. Even Pope Innocent III condemned them once he learned what happened. Here's what he wrote. "They have spared neither age nor sex. They have exposed both matrons and virgins, even those dedicated to God, to the sordid lusts of boys." The Fourth Crusade destroyed the Byzantine Empire. It never recovered. This made the Ottoman conquest easier, not harder. Calling this an understandable failure is like calling the Titanic a minor setback. The video frames the Crusades as Christians defending themselves against Muslim aggression. But here's something the video doesn't mention. The Crusaders killed thousands of Jews before they even left Europe. In 1096, Crusader armies marched through the Rhineland, modern-day Germany. They attacked Jewish communities in Speyer, Worms, Mainz, and Cologne. Estimates range from 3,000 to 5,000 dead. The Christian chronicler Albert of Aachen records their justification, the beginning of their expedition and their duty against the enemies of the Christian faith. Their logic: why fight enemies of Christ in Jerusalem when they live amongst us? That's not defending Christianity, that's religious violence against anyone deemed an outsider. And the atrocities didn't stop there. At the siege of Mara in 1098, crusaders were starving. Here's what Fulcher of Chartres, again a Christian chaplain, wrote: "Many of our people, harassed by excessive hunger, cut pieces from the buttocks of the Saracens already dead there, which they cooked and devoured with savage mouth." Another crusader recorded, "We greedily ate the already fetid bodies of the Saracens thrown into the swamp 2 or more weeks before." Again, this isn't Muslim propaganda. These are Christian crusaders describing what they did.
Christian inhabitants had to pay an enormous tax called the dhimmi tax.
The video claims Christians under Muslim rule paid an enormous tax called the jizya. Let's look at the actual numbers. Wealthy, 4 dinars per year, middle class, 2 dinars per year, and the poor, 1 dinar per year. This was paid by adult males only, not women, not children, and it exempted them from military service. Muslims paid a similar tax called zakat. Now, let's compare this to Christian kingdoms. Jews in medieval Europe faced arbitrary taxes, forced conversions, and outright expulsion. England expelled all Jews in 1290, France in 1306, and Spain in 1492. The historian Mark R. Cohen notes that dhimmi status, while second class, compares favorably with the treatment of non-Christians in Europe. Was the jizya a burden? Yes. Was it enormous compared to Christian treatment of minorities? That needs context. The video blames Islamic piracy for turning the Mediterranean into an unsafe hellhole and crashing the European economy for 400 years. Let me show you what the video conveniently ignores. The Vikings. From the 9th century onward, Norse raiders devastated European coasts. They plundered London, Paris, Cologne, Kiev. They raided as far as Pisa and Florence. They weren't Muslim. And the economic decline. The Western Roman Empire collapsed. The Byzantine Sassanid War devastated the East. Blaming 400 years of problems solely on Muslim pirates ignores basically everything else that happened.
Europe was Christian when the Crusades were launched, and it's still majority Christian today, 1,000 years later, although it is secularizing due to modernist ideologies. Ironically, it's only after the Pope lost his power to call Crusades that Christianity started to decline in Europe.
Let's check the timeline. The Crusades ended around 1300. European secularization began in the 1700s with the Enlightenment. Time gap, about 400 years. In between, you had the Protestant Reformation, Christians splitting into warring factions, the 30 Years' War, Christians killing Christians, the Scientific Revolution. By the video's logic, I could claim Europe speaks Indo-European languages because of the Crusades. Correlation isn't causation. And here's the kicker. Christian territory was lost despite the Crusades. Anatolia became Turkey. The Balkans fell to the Ottomans. The Fourth Crusade weakened the Byzantine Empire, making the Ottoman conquest easier. The Crusades didn't preserve Christianity in Europe. Geography did. Early Carolingian defense did. Byzantine resilience did. Historians across the board reject the awesome Crusades narrative. The medieval reality was messy, reciprocal violence, trade, diplomacy, and yes, atrocities on both sides. Simplifying 200 years of history into good guys versus bad guys doesn't honor the past. It weaponizes it. Look, I'm not saying the Crusades were uniquely evil. Medieval warfare was brutal across the board. Muslim armies committed massacres too. But if you're going to make a video with 5 million views called "Why the Crusades Were Awesome," you can't just erase the parts where crusaders massacred civilians, sacked Christian cities, and ate their enemies. Every source I've cited today is in the description below. History isn't simple. The Crusades weren't either.